Good afternoon to you. Today I will give you a small tips about the LDSE, LDCE, Limited Departmental Competitive Examination for SO and PS examinations. A few candidates have sent messages to me that they do not know about the syllabus of LDCE SOPS examination. They are totally in dark about what to study and what to ignore. So my intention is to brief you about how to study for, how to study for section officers and private secretary examination, in fact, without being coached. That is important. Remember, apart from evaluation of APARs, otherwise called ACRs, for 5 years, which carries 100 marks, there are 3 papers for a total of 500 marks. For a total of 500 marks. So 100 marks for the CR and 500 marks for the written. Now paper 1 carries 150 marks of 2 hours duration. This paper covers general studies, knowledge of Constitution of India, machinery of government, parliamentary procedure, RTI 2005 and allocation of business rules 1961. Now I think it is 2002. Then comes paper 2, which carries 150 marks of 2 hours duration. This paper 2 covers procedure and practice in Government of India Secretariat, attached officers and subordinate officers. Then general financial rules and service rules, of course with relevant changes for various categories of service. For IB they will add security instructions. For AFSQs, problem solving, and railways, especially financial matters. So depending upon their requirement, the syllabus slightly changes, but the substance remains the same. Now paper 3 carries 200 marks of 3 hour duration. This paper covers pre-writing, noting and drafting. This is the general format. Now, what is the procedure to study? What is the procedure to study and how to study? Second point. In paper 1, the first is general studies. Rome cannot be built overnight, and you cannot have a control over the general studies in overnight. It is an ocean. You should always keep your eyes and ears open. What is general studies? If I know about you, it is general studies. If I know about my village, it is general studies. If I know about my town, it is general studies. If I know about the nation, it is general studies. That is why the communication of information is through newspaper. So, normally you should concentrate. Normally, what is given in the syllabus I am telling you, normally you should concentrate on planning process. Now there is no 5-year plan after the Niti Aayog. It is a planning perspective plan, etc. Planning process. Then comes the various schemes introduced by Government of India, especially during the past 1 year. What programs and schemes have been introduced by Government of India? Thirdly, what are the bills passed by both the houses of Parliament and which have become Act? It is very important. And what are the bills pending in the Parliament? Sensitive bills. Or what are the bills introduced in Parliament? Sensitive. Passed, you should go through thoroughly, whereas introduced and pending, sensitive bill. For instance, UCC. Now the Gujarat government is proposing what is known as a Uniform Civil Code under Article 44. Goa is already having. So why? What is the reason? So remember, Constitution. So Article 44. Similarly, you see what are the decisions of the Supreme Court on various cases and which article it relates to. That is all the more important. And what are the countries visited by Prime Minister, and what is the status of the bilateral relations between India and those countries visited. Similarly, how many countries of heads of states visited India? What are the bilateral relations between India and those countries? And who is the guest of which country has represented in Indian Republic Day? These are all the things you should remember. Similarly, Indo-China relations, Indo-Pakistan relations, Indo-US relations, Indo-Russia relations, which are all sensitive because of the crude oil position, you should keep in mind. Secondly, Indian economy. Another important factor is Indian economy. Budget 22-23, very essential. 23-24, why? Because the exam may be in March, so they will cover 23-24 also. Economic survey 1 year before, remember 21-22 and 22-23. And 15th Finance Commission recommendation, vertical devaluation and dimensional, etc., which has been given recommendation by YV Reddy Committee, 14th Finance Commission, and NKC Committee. And similarly, the what is known as Monetary Policy Committee, composition, what is policy rate, what is repo rate, what is reverse repo rate, all the special drawing facility, etc., you should remember. Similarly, appreciation of rupee or devaluation of rupee or revaluation of rupee or depreciation of rupee, etc., you should know. Remember, these topics carry 60 marks. These topics carry 60 marks. Allocation of business rules 20 marks and RTI 10 marks. Remember how it is distributed? 60 marks for the general studies, ABR 20 marks and RTI 10 marks. Then comes the constitution. The constitution and the parliamentary procedure carry 60 marks. 60 marks in this paper. Remember, it is impossible for to cover the constitution and parliamentary procedure because it is very vast. It is 4 months, it is impossible. But remember, UPSC will not ask the question directly. They will not ask you what are the fundamental rights, what are the powers of the president, what is the ordinance making. No direct question will be available. More so, it is objective type. It is not subjective. So they will ask only indirect question, and also remember, and also only from the current topics. What is current topics? What is going on in the newspaper? For example, what is windfall tax, or what is voting right of NRI, and what is two finger test? Recently, it is controversial. Similarly, which fundamental right has been violated by two finger test? What is pink tide? And what is the composition of RBI board? What is fiscal deficit? Why Jimmy Aja was in news? What is Citizenship Amendment Act 2019? Is it a constitutional amendment or it is an ordinary law? What is the PARAK? PARAKH? Very important. What is the general consent to CBI? Many states have withdrawn. 7 states have withdrawn this. And what are the denominations of electoral bond? What is the first Constitutional Amendment Act 1951? Why it is in the news? Remember, UPSC choose questions from the current topics only. Be it constitution, be it general studies, be it what is known as parliamentary procedure, 374A or 374 parliamentary procedure, etc. This. So, read the newspaper regularly. That is very, very important. Read the newspaper regularly. But when you read the newspaper, how to identify the importance of the news? That is very important because everybody reads. You also read, I also read. Everybody go through the newspaper. But how to identify the importance of the news? That is important. What is very simple test? Find out whether the particular news item is interesting to you. Ignore. It is not going to come in the exam. For instance, let us say there is a rift in Gandhi family. Priyanka Vadera has fought with Sonia Gandhi, or Rahul is angry with Sonia. These are all very interesting to study. Another, Nitin Gadkari did not meet Prime Minister even though he was in Mumbai. These are all imaginary, remember. These are all imaginary. Nitin Gadkari and Rajnath Singh rift with the Prime Minister. He consecutively did not attend cabinet meeting for 3 times. These are all the news. Very interesting. Do you think UPSC will choose question from this? No, not at all. Because UPSC choose the questions only from the current topics with relevant to your syllabus. What is parliamentary procedure? 374 or 374A, etc. Like this, relevant to the current topics that UPSC chooses the question. So ignore those which are not important. Similarly, let us say Pakistan exit from FATF. What is FATF? Nobody knows unless you search. Similarly, Collegium now has 6 judges. What is Collegium? Where it is coming? It is for ACC, replacement of ACC. So nothing. So this for getting 150 marks, the only way is to read the newspaper regularly. No doubt. Unless you know the basics of constitution, unless you know the basics of Indian economy, you will not be persuaded to read the newspaper. That I agree. But you are having your sons and daughters, you should encourage them to read the newspaper. And newspaper reading is one of the most important. Then comes paper 2, financial services and service rules. Remember how many are covered? CCA rules 1965, CCS conduct rules 1964, pension rules 2021 and 72 also, and new pension rules, GFR, DFPR, FRSR, and in FRSR itself is a ocean. There is a TA rules, joining time rules, fixation of pay, leave rules, etc. There are so many items. This has only 75 marks. Remember, this has only 75 marks. This paper also has MOP and notes on office procedure. Both are there. Notes, one is by ISM apparently, and another is MOP, Government of India. And this carry 75 marks. Questions from parliamentary procedures also included in this paper. So the constitution make up that 60. In addition, parliamentary procedure will get 15 marks. So then comes the most important noting and drafting, which carry 200 marks, 3 hours duration. Prissy carries 50 marks. And second noting carries 40 marks. 2 more notings, each 25 marks. Remember, each 25 marks. Then 4 drafts each, carrying 15 marks. Total 200 marks in 3 hours. Most people fail in this paper. They get very less mark. You ask anyone who has failed. I did not, I omitted prissy writing, there was no time. I have not attempted noting and drafting, I have no time, etc. Because they neglect it. You cannot do it noting and drafting in one day. It is not possible unless you cultivate the habit of doing the prissy writing from the editorial or from the middle article. You should do the prissy writing. Then only you will be able to attempt the prissy writing. Never attempt prissy first. You attempt the prissy last. And similarly, this paper tests not only your format, whether you know the form of correspondence, it tests your knowledge of the rules also, and also forms of correspondence also. But remember, whether English is absurd or not absurd. Command our language. You need not be apologetic about your poor English, because we are not born for the European citizens. We are for Indians, and we should feel proud for Indian language. But that does not mean when once you have chosen your medium, you should not write absurd English. With this, we will end. This is the format. If possible, I will continue this. Thank you.